Hey, how's it going, guys? This is going to be an interesting video. James Gunn ranks his top 5 comic book movies. I just watched Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I put up my review on that. So we've seen James Gunn how he handled Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, it's more lighthearted, it's more fun. And we've seen him do the Suicide Squad, which was really quirky, really weird. But what is his taste outside of that? You know, like other type of superhero movies. What is his taste? What is he like? Because any one of these movies could be an influence for him in his Superman legacy. So I'm really curious to see what he's got to say here.
I just got a bunch of pictures from Warner Brothers vaults of the actual original costumes. I think the costume art's really good, and it's just without frills. Because today people have seen a lot of different superhero costumes. So it's how do you make it look believable? How do you take this outrageous concept of a guy who flies around and turn him into something real?
Talking about Superman? Are we talking about Superman there?
Hey GQ, I'm James Gunn, and I'm going to break down my top 5 favorite comic book movies. I think I'm worth listening to about comic book movies.
That intro bit worried me a little. I don't want a real grounded take with subdued colors like we got before. The pictures that James Gunn's been using from All-Star Superman, and we talked about this in another video, what James Gunn was looking for in Superman himself, it lends itself more towards a traditional type of Superman with the traditional colors, if we're going by that picture. So I'm hoping he's not going for the subdued colors, a more grounded, realistic approach, because we got that with the DCEU, and I mean, you know my thoughts and opinions on that. Let's keep going here.
Simply because I've made so many comic book films and superhero films. I've made at least, oh my gosh, I don't know how many superhero movies I've made at this point. Something like 6 or 7. I guess if you include the movies I produced.
Hey, this doesn't count. This is a TV show. So literally, Guardians of the Galaxy and Suicide Squad. I don't know what this is. This is Dwight becomes a superhero. I gotta watch that.
I guess if you include the movies I produced, like the Avengers movies, then it's really a lot.
How much creative say did you have in those?
Oh, hello. I know, right?
Obvious choice for James Gunn right here.
I have to fondle to get my very own movie.
I think coming in at number 5, I'm gonna go with Deadpool. The first Deadpool and the second Deadpool actually are two of my favorite comic book movies. They came on the heels of.
Watch, he's gonna put Christopher Reeve's Superman as number 1. Watch, he's gonna do
the Guardians film. They were even more of, comedies than the Guardians films are, and they were so well made.
Make us feel good.
So
make us have some
faith and fun, and Ryan Reynolds just kills it. I think Deadpool is a perfect adaptation of a comic book, because the comic book is very much tongue-in-cheek, very much breaking the fourth wall all the time, talking to the audience, and I think the movie does that really well, but somehow also keeps it more grounded and gives it a little bit more heart than the comics have.
If you could see me, you'd understand.
Looks on everything.
Looks are everything. You ever heard David Beckham speak? It's like he mouth sexed a can of helium. Think Ryan Reynolds got this far on his superior acting method?
Love is blind, Wade.
No. You're blind.
Ryan's such a funny guy. I think it, along with like Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man or Christopher Reeve as Superman, he's one of the all-time great comic book, icons.
산 거 맞죠?
Ooh. Oldboy's not a superhero movie, but Oldboy is such a good movie, guys. If you have not seen Oldboy, it's a South Korean movie. It's awesome. This movie was intense, dude. Shoot, man. Oh, dang.
Number 4, I
never saw the Hollywood version. There's a Hollywood version.
Now, a lot of people don't know that this is a comic book film, but it's based on a manga, and it's a Korean film.
So, comic book, not superhero. It's based on a manga. Okay. But the South Korean version is awesome. I never read the manga.
It reinvented action, and it really ushered in the new era of Korean cinema, which has continued to this day. They still probably make the best action movies in the world. But as a movie, it's just incredibly cinematic, incredibly colorful, really kind of gross, but also beautiful and shocking at the end. It has a real nice twist at the end. So it works on every level.
How did I know they're going to put this scene in there? Well, this scene was so good.
If there's one scene that sticks out, it's obviously the hallway fight. That was a huge inspiration to me, and you can see our own version of a hallway fight in Guardians 3. Different versions of hallway action fights have been great, whether it's in
Guardians
Old Boy
cool.
or The Raid, another great action movie. We have one in The Suicide
Dude, the
Squad
Raid
and
Redemption
now in
was
Guardians.
awesome too. Pro tip, watch The Raid Redemption dubbed in English. It adds a comedic element to it, and it's hilarious. The dub voices are hilarious.
Sorry, do you think we know each other?
I've never seen this. Is this a comic book movie? A History of Violence.
You tell me.
My third favorite all-time comic book film is A History of Violence, directed by David Cronenberg, one of my favorite directors. I love so many of his films, from
But not a lot of comedy
Ringers
here.
to
We stopped
Naked
with the
Lunch.
comedy
But my
in,
favorite movie of
Deadpool.
his is probably A History of Violence. Viggo Mortensen stars in it. He's fantastic, and it's a really amazing movie about a guy who's a former killer who's trying to live this normal life and gets wrapped up in his past. When I saw History of Violence, I also, like Old Boy, I didn't know this was based on anything. I didn't know it was adapted from a novel, or especially didn't know it was adapted from comic books in a graphic novel. I just saw it as a movie itself, so it didn't have to live up to anything. It didn't have to overcome anything. It was just an amazing movie in and of itself that's emotional and passionate, and the violence and the action is shot really well. I mean, I really was influenced by History of Violence.
Man,
I was influenced by the way that it didn't play like an action movie. You don't look at it and say, oh, that's an action movie. But if you watch the way Cronenberg shoots the action sequences in the movie, it's really spectacular and really deft.
Door!
Man, I don't want spoilers, man. I gotta see this movie.
I think Cronenberg has a way of turning the world just slightly to see something really ugly about it in a beautiful way, if that makes any sense. And History of Violence does that. He just turns this normal American family just slightly, and we see into its soul. And it's not the most beautiful thing in the world. There's this wonderful, of all the wonderful things, there's a wonderful sex scene in the movie between Viggo and his wife on the steps when she discovers, like, starting to discover who he really is. I'm not a big sex scene guy. I don't take sex scenes apart in the same way I take action scenes apart, but I somehow really remember that scene because it was so raw and so passionate and so real.
That's not so comfortable
And
of a place.
usually sex scenes just seem like I'm actually usually waiting for them to be done, or they seem like unnecessary or just exploitative, you know? So this wasn't like that at all. This was a real part of the story.
Okay.
Hey, Jim! Woo!
Excuse me.
That's a bad.
Number two, I'm gonna have to go with a movie that changed my life, and that's Richard Donner's Superman. This one is important to me historically. It's a great movie.
This is good,
but
man.
It was also a movie I saw as a kid that affected my life a lot, and I remember seeing it at the Paris Cinema in Manchester.
You know what's crazy though? I've never seen it. I never seen it. The only Christopher Reeve I told you guys. That's why I said I need to do movie reactions, because there's a whole bunch of movies that I've not seen. The only Christopher Reeve Superman movie I saw was Superman 5. But from what I hear, Christopher Reeve Superman is the Superman, the live action Superman, the GOAT, the best of the best, right? And I believe it, man. All these 80s and 90s cartoons and movies, they captured the essence of the characters. And if they did, hopefully James Gunn understands what the essence of Superman is. Again, we talked about that in when he was talking about the casting and what he was looking for in Superman, and it looks like he does understand it. So I'm hoping Superman is good.
Missouri, when it was.
I just have some worries after watching Guardians, but that's why I'm watching this video, to calm those worries.
First released. Strangely, the same exact theater that Jim Lee, who went on to create so many great comics characters, saw it in St. Louis, because we're both from there. But I was taken up in this movie, and I remember when I was a child, I had seen Star Wars, and that was like such a big magical moment for me. And this was the next big magical movie.
What the hell's that?
Yeah, I think Star Wars was that big magical movie for me. The Phantom Menace, that was the first one that I saw.
Who's got you?
You know, at the time, they did exactly what we're doing now. They're going through tons and tons of actors to see who captures that spirit. The thing they don't talk about much when they talk about Christopher Reeve, they talk about his pureness, his hope, his goodness. They talk about, you know, the way that he plays Clark as being so different from the way he plays Superman and how he can turn that on in an instant. But there's this playfulness about Superman. This, when he's saving a cat, he's got that wry smile.
Yeah, he's like a kid,
Bye, Frisky.
like a big kid.
Long now.
And that is one of the best parts of the movie is the playfulness of Superman. He enjoys what he's doing.
The
he likes
sincerity.
helping human beings and he likes saving them.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And he pointed out all the things that are also integral to Superman, right? But I don't want the playfulness to be silly, right? To be goofy. Right? We don't want a silly, goofy Superman. But the sincerity that comes off in that playfulness, that is important.
They just did the costume from the comics and they did it very simply and it works really well. The colors work well. I just got a bunch of pictures from Warner Brothers vaults of the actual original costumes. I think the costume works really good and it's just without frills, which was easier back then than today because today people have seen a lot of different superhero costumes. So it's how do you make it look believable? How do you take...
Yeah, get better material, keep it the same classic comic book costume. Just you know, update the materials instead of just spandex. The actor should be bulked up a bit more. I mean, Christopher Reeve did bulk up for the role, but nowadays, like Henry Cavill, plus they got padding under the suit, so I don't go crazy with the design. That's what I'm saying.
This outrageous concept of a guy who flies around and turn him into something real. I think that, you know, what we're doing is different. It's its own thing, but I'm definitely influenced by what Donner did with Superman and what Christopher Reeve did with Superman. And Margot Kidder, who's fantastic in the movie. She's really the heart of it in a lot of ways.
I never seen like I said, I never seen it, but my lowest lane would probably be Erica Durant's.
The Fortress of Solitude is an amazing set. It's really like the look of it was created through those Donner Superman movies. And I think it was a magical location that wasn't something that we're familiar with, but that was so well done and actually built big sets. And that's influenced me a lot. We have some of the biggest sets of all time in the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It's great to actually have real practical sets for these strange locations. So the, you know, actors and the crew kind of feel what's going on when we're there. And it just looks better than having everything be a total CGI fest.
Yeah. What's his number one? Into the Spider-Verse. Into the Spider-Verse was good. I know a lot of people will put Into the Spider-Verse as their number one.
Spider-Man, there can't be
It was definitely a good movie.
Can there?
My favorite superhero movie, and my
it's just that, man. Peter Parker, Spider-Man. That's my Spider-Man.
It's Into the Spider-Verse. This movie
but this was still cool.
From start to finish. It does not have a bad beat in it. The action is amazing. The emotion is amazing. The voice acting is incredible. It's well directed, well written, and I just don't think that there's been a better superhero movie than Into the Spider-Verse. I think that, you know, Into the Spider-Verse is truly the first, you know, comic book multiverse.
That's cool to hear him
movie.
say that.
They did it in such a balanced and real way. There weren't a lot of plot holes like there are in a lot of these multiverse
because he makes
movies. They
superhero
thought
movies
everything
himself.
through, and it was just really tight. And if there's one thing I respect a lot in a screenplay, in a film, is to be elegant and to not be doing all this stuff that goes off from the center of the film, and it does it. It stays.
And that's cool. His number one is an animated.
Are you from another dimension, like a parallel universe where things are like this universe but different, and you're Spider-Man in that universe, but somehow travel to this universe, but you don't know how?
Wow, that was really just a guess?
Being able to see all these different Spider-Man characters, Miles Morales and, you know, Peter and all the other characters working together.
Yeah, he likes
in one
team
movie.
up. He likes
It was sort of a
making
dream
team
come
movies.
true for a kid who loved, you know, Spider-Man as much as I loved Superman and Batman growing up. I think that Spider-Verse really influenced me in terms of trying to make high-quality animation that is not
Maybe
secondary.
those were just the projects you
There
were
is an
given, I'm not
advantage
sure.
to these animated films because you do plan out everything. You kind of draw it as you go along. You don't go on set and film it. It's costing you millions of dollars, and then you come back with the footage, and then you have to see if
They
it
know
works
exactly
or not. I think it's
what
one of the
they're
reasons
doing.
why there are
You
so
just need
many
to
good,
execute on
tight
it.
animated films, and more often than not, they're better than live-action films. Movies that almost made the list were
Yeah, one of my friends once said he exclusively watches anime for that very same reason.
Deadpool 2, Iron Man for sure. V for Vendetta is another one that almost made the list. Spider-Man Homecoming, I think, is fantastic. There were a lot of movies I really
Homecoming was
loved that almost made the list.
At least he didn't
but
say Far
I
From
had
Home.
To choose 5, and so, you know, I may wake up tomorrow and think I made an enormous mistake that I can't take back.
Can you just give us a quick drop of the list with your movies in it?
But I can't, they're like, you know, my movies are like my children. So I can't say one that I like better than the other. I mean, listen, with Guardians 1, I was proud of how we
That's
did
my favorite
something
Guardians.
that was considered pretty outlandish at the time, but did it in a mainstream way that spoke to audiences all over the world. That was a big accomplishment for me. For the second movie, I was really proud of how, you know, we really told this story about a, you know, adoptive father and his son and how that came together.
That dynamic was the best part of that movie.
Written me
Yondu
over the
and
years
him.
saying, I finally like forgive my stepfather for all this whatever they put me through. It's changed people's relationships with their family members. For Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad, we really took big risks and big swings
decent.
and did ridiculous things that I thought was like a much more chaotic approach to cinema, and I learned a lot through that, and I personally learned a lot through how to use a camera on that film. And then for Guardians 3, I'm just really proud of the way that we, you know, really
Check out my
gave
review
each
on
of these
Guardians.
characters the
I literally
dignity
just put
they
it up
deserve
yesterday.
and gave them the ending they deserve. All right, GQ, thank you very much. These were my top 5 favorite comic book movies.
Nice. What did you guys think about this? What did you guys think about his list? What he said? Honestly, I'm surprised and not surprised because, I mean, it did say comic book movies, right? Because a part of me was expecting him to, like, you know, not give me the answers that I was expecting, right? The superhero type movies. This guy just gave me Old Boy and stuff like that. I didn't even know those were graphic novels. But what he said about Superman was really good. So he understands the character. That's what I was trying to look for in this video. Try to see what his tastes were, what he looks for. Because he didn't exclusively talk about superhero movies, I didn't get as much information as I wanted. But I did get to see what kind of movies he likes and how he saw Superman, and that was important. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. And also, what are your thoughts about the upcoming Superman Legacy movie directed and written by James Gunn? And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.